Hi guys, welcome to the new video. My name is Igor and you're watching 3D Inovacija. So in these intros, usually I have a model here, like here, to show you what we're going to be working on. But I'll be honest, I forgot to do the shooting before I started to paint. So yeah, rookie mistake, I know. But here are a few rendered photos of the model so you know what we're going to be working on. So yeah, we're gonna be working on Nami from One Piece. I have a goal. Before I retire, I wanna do all One Piece characters. A few months ago, I did Fire Fist Ace, and you can watch that video here. And today, we're gonna do Nami. That makes it two. So we have like around 1500 more. Not a big deal, we're gonna get to it. So this model was made by the artist named D'Angelo 3D and Tiny Littles 3D. I will leave the link in the description below where you can get the model. It's part of their urban collection where they put One Piece characters in modern settings. So here we have Nami wearing Nike shoes with shopping bags, jacket, standing next to the traffic light. So stuff that you don't usually see in One Piece anime. And watch out while we paint, there are many Easter eggs on this model with very cool and funny names. So as usual, I will show you everything, how I do it, all the paints that I used, how I apply them, so you can easily follow along with the video and get the same kind of model at the end. Here are the list of all the colors I used, and these are not strict. If it says red, you can use red from Vallejo, from Warp Paints, or from any other brand. This is just an indicator what you're gonna need, but some similar colors are also good. And yeah, before we start, I just want to say thank you to all because we just passed 1000 subscribers. Yes! 1 million is so close.
Nobody cares!
Thank you for watching the videos. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope they made you inspired and to make your own models. And yeah, without further ado, let's start with the painting.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. I scaled up this model by 40% from the original size to match it up with my other models. Everything is printed with ABS-like resin and there aren't any transparent parts. After printing, I put them in hot water for like 10 minutes, so it's very easy to remove supports and there's minimal scarring. After that, we wash it in IPA, and if I have a model with very small drain holes that I'm not sure got washed properly, I'm gonna use a syringe to flush it out from the inside. I don't wanna wait for it to dry by itself, so I'm gonna use this food dehydrator for a few minutes to dry them completely. Before curing, I like to examine the model and remove any leftover supports. Resin is pretty soft now and it's very easy to clean it up. So no sanding at this point, just a precision knife to remove anything bigger that's maybe left on the model. After that, I cure all the models for around 5 minutes. I also use small UV LED lights that I put inside of the hull of the model to cure them from the inside, just in case there's any resin left. Better be safe than sorry, even a small amount of resin trapped inside the model will destroy it over time. Now, time to sand it out. Remove any support marks, and here is one piece of advice. Sand the staff that Nami is holding in her hand, thin it down. Because when you put a paint on the staff and you put a paint on the hand, it will not fit anymore, so thin it down now. Of course, also dry fit all the parts to check if they fit well. You do not want to paint them and then realize that they do not fit properly and you needed to sand them more. After that, I'm gonna use these bamboo sticks to put the model on them for easy painting and drying. If some pieces do not have a hole, you can make it by yourself or use these alligator clips with a zip tie at the top to stop them from moving. I'm also gonna glue these two pieces of the base together for easier painting. No need to keep them separate. That's it, preparations are done and we can start to paint. So like always, I'm gonna start with a black primer from Vallejo. If you have a white primer, that one could be even better for this model, since we want all pieces to be vibrant and colorful. Prime it slowly in 2 layers. Do not go all out, especially when you have smooth surfaces like this. If you put too much at once, it will start to pour down and create buildups in some spots. First thing we're gonna do are skin tones. Use white ink from Vallejo and just cover all the skin tone parts. Do not forget the little pieces of arm that are hidden inside of the jacket. I did, so I had to go back and do just them. Again, 2 or 3 thin layers are much better and cleaner than one fat layer. Assume this for almost everything we do. On the rest of the parts, except the base, we're gonna do zenithal priming. Cover them in white by spraying from the top. The whiter our background is, more colors will pop up and look vibrant.
In the silence, there's a storm inside my heart, tearing through the pieces of what...
Next, we're gonna use Warlord Purple. This one we're gonna use just on the skin tones, so cover all the white parts.
Let the past endure. So tell me, can we ever find the light in the dark where we lost our way tonight? Or are we done to wander through the pain, chasing shadows that will never be the same?
Now, grab some red ink from Vallejo and spray it in places that would naturally be more in the shadow, like under the leg, neck, back of the model. Imagine there is a sun above the model, so everywhere that shadows would naturally form, spray the red ink.
In the silence, there's a storm inside my heart.
Next, grab some basic skin tone. I'm gonna use Rosy Flesh, thin it down and spray it over all the pink parts. Do it slowly, in thin layers. The pinkish background still needs to be visible underneath as an undertone. The parts where we put red ink will naturally be darker.
Away tonight. Or are we doomed to wander through the pain, chasing shadows that will never be the same? I don't wanna slow dance in this endless fight, but I can't let...
After that, use Pale Flesh, thin it down even more than the last one, and spray it over all the skin tones. Now we have a very good basic tone. You can even stop here if you want. When it dries, it will look very close how Nami looks in the anime, but I wanna give her a bit of a tan.
On the edge of our goodbye, tangled in the words we never said, holding on.
Before doing that, we're gonna protect all the skin parts with matte varnish, but be sure that it's dry before continuing on. So just like in rendered image, we're gonna make 10 lines around the bikini. Use masking tape to protect those parts of the skin. They will stay this color that we have now.
Can you tell me where it all went wrong? We used to dance to every broken song.
After putting all the masking tape, we're gonna make a wash using wash medium and topaz skin color. To make the wash, I put 3 drops of a thinner, 5 drops of wash medium, 3 drops of paint and 15 drops of water. I mix it all up in the airbrush and it's ready to go. Spray it little by little, just give her a soft tan on all the skin parts. After it dries up, use Rayquan Flash Shade and spray it on all the spots where shadows would naturally form. Bendy places, muscle separation, same way that we did with the red ink, just try to be a bit more precise now. Also at this point, put the head on the body when you're working. There needs to be a smooth transition of color from body skin to the head. If you don't do this, the head will look like it's out of place. Now we're gonna make a wash for the highlights. Mix it the same way as we did for the tan, and spray it on the places where the sand would naturally fall, top of the muscles, shoulders, chest. Also, if you went a bit overboard on some parts with the tan, you can soften it down now and make the skin lighter. Check also how legs fit the body. If there is a lighter skin tone on the top of the leg, it would be natural to also continue with it to the stomach and hips. If they do not flow, parts will look like they're out of place. If you need to bring back a bit of reddish tone, use red tone wash and spray it very lightly on the places that you feel that needs to be adjusted. The last thing you can do, and this is not mandatory because you can screw up the model, is to add a bit of a speckles to the skin. To do that, we're gonna use a red tone wash, reduce the pressure of the compressor until it starts to spit these little speckles of paint. Be sure to try it out on a paper before you do it on a model. I added a bit of speckles on all the skin tones, and right after I add it, I use these cotton pads to remove it by tapping it off. So don't slide it or scrub it, just tap it off lightly. This way it blends nicely with the skin tones and it adds texture. Okay, now we can remove the masking tape to see the tan lines. So if you want, you can leave it like this, but to me personally this transition looks a bit too sharp, so I'm gonna blend it with the rest of the skin tones. You already know what colors we used to get to this point, so I will not be showing it again. Just repeat the same process around the tan lines, little by little until it starts to blend in with the skin tones, but it's still visible. And this is how it will look at the end. This is it for the skin tones, so just move them and leave them to dry, and let's switch to the trousers. We're gonna start with Imperial Navy and just spray the whole part. After that, we're gonna make a bit of a pattern on the trousers. So take bright sapphire, and we're gonna use the same trick that we did with the skin tones. Lower the pressure on the compressor until it starts to spit these little dots of paint, and now just go around the trousers until you fill up the space. At the end, finish it off by using Talasar Blue to blend everything together.
I see you in the corners of my dreams, but you're fading like the sunset in the rain. Every time you smile, it tears at the seams.
Now we're gonna switch to the jacket. In order to protect these pieces of skin inside of the jacket, I'm gonna use liquid mask from Vallejo. This is a great way to protect uneven surfaces where it would be a problem to put the masking tape. If you're gonna use a liquid mask, you need to prepare for two things. First is the smell, it stinks. Second is that you will most likely have to throw away the brush that you used. I always use expendable brushes from Temu where I get like hundreds of them for $5 and just throw them away after use. As it dries, the liquid mask will become more and more clear, so much that you will wonder if you even protected that part, but believe in yourself. After it dries, we're gonna use Bloody Red on the jacket.
It just fades away. We're holding on to memories so tight, but they're slipping like the sand between our hands.
On the parts that are supposed to be in the shadows, like inside of the jacket, use Scarlet Red. Also reduce the pressure a bit to be more precise and put it inside all the creases and folds on the sleeves. This will add a lot of dimension to it. And now we're gonna add highlights, use Hot Orange and add it to all the ridges and tips.
Fading blooms. If I could find a way to make you stay, would you be here or would you drift away? You looked at me like I'm just someone else, 'cause we were never meant to be ourselves. In the silence that
After it dries, we're gonna make a wash from Bloody Red and blend it all together. Recipe is the same, a few drops of a thinner, 5 drops of wash medium, 3 drops of paint and 15 drops of water. Spray it very lightly over the jacket, but be careful because highlights and shadows still need to stay visible underneath. I think that's it, and we can remove the liquid mask now.
we're only done to wander through the pain, chase the shadows that will never be the same. I don't wanna slow dance this endless fight, but I can't let go now without the final night. So keep
Moving over to the shoes, we're gonna start by spraying them all with off-white, And now just leave them to dry and we're gonna get back to them. In the meantime, let's do the hair. Once again, we're gonna use liquid mask to protect the face and ears.
In the silence, there's a storm inside my heart.
As I said before, you will probably need to throw the brush away after applying liquid mask. You can see here how it looks. You cannot clean this off. So just use some cheap brush from Temu and throw it away afterwards. So for this next part, don't follow until you watch it through, because I made a mistake, but I left it in a video so I can show you. I used orange fire on a shopping bag, but you can see how it turned out. It's not very colorful, nor is it vibrant. That's because we had a dark primer, and then we just did Zenitha highlight on top. This would be perfect for some more serious model, but since this is anime, I want it to be very vibrant and very bright. So before continuing, I'm gonna use this off-white on all the parts that I want to be vibrant and colorful. You can use off-white or pretty much any whitish color. I'm gonna use it on the shopping bags, gold bar, stoplight, this push to cross button, Zeus, Nami staff, headband, hair. I'm also gonna spray this first bag that I did wrong and do it over again. Leave them to dry and let's try again.
Every time we smile, it tears at the seams. But of the love that we once felt, we can't sustain. Can you tell me where it all went wrong?
Ooh, look at the difference. Colors look so much better with the bright undertone. Here are the photos of before and after, so you can see the clear difference. Okay, moving over to the hair, we're gonna use orange fire, and that's it. It fits perfectly with Nami's hair. I just want to warn you that you could see during the rest of the video a different tone color for the hair. I was experimenting with some stuff, but at the end this simple orange fire looked the best, so I just switched back to it. No need to show all of that in the video, since I ended up with this exact same color at the end. You can also remove the liquid mask from the face now. Not really sure if something would happen if you leave it on for too long, but there's no need to risk it. Grab some green skin now and spray the bottom traffic light and Nami's headband. For the push to cross button, I'm gonna use Demonic Yellow. When you're done with that, get some Bloody Red again and spray the top traffic light. It would be good to protect the green one with some masking tape, so there's no overspray. You can also use this Bloody Red that's still in the airbrush to spray the other shopping bag. Dressrosa New World. The text on this model is so well thought out. Now take some Deck 10 and spray the little Zeus cloud and the treasure map. We want to make treasure map to look like old paper, so after it dries, get Skeleton Horde and spray it again. Wait for it to dry, and now we're gonna make wash using wash medium and Deck 10. Spray the map randomly, only on some spots. This will make it look a bit like old paper. For Zeus, we're also gonna make a wash using wash medium and dead white, and just spray it little by little on the face. Do not spray the whole thing, leave the edges a bit darker, which we made with the Deck 10 beforehand. Let's shade some parts now. Use Noun Oil, and we're gonna spray both shopping bags. We're gonna spray them on the sides, where there are creases, and near the bottom. This way they will look a bit more dimensional and not so flat anymore. Okay, what else is left? A gold bar. So just spray it with some greedy gold or some other gold color, doesn't matter. Socks, we're gonna make them completely black, so just spray them with black color. The last thing I wanna do with the airbrush before moving over to the wet palette is to protect the skin tones with matte varnish. This will help us greatly if we accidentally make a mistake, so we can quickly clean it off with water without damaging the skin tones. And that's it for the airbrush. Get that wet palette out now, and we're gonna start from the bottom and climb our way up. First thing we're gonna do is the base, and we're gonna make it by dry brushing. Start with the charcoal, dip the brush into the paint, and then brush off most of the paint on the paper towel. When you notice that there's barely any left, start dry brushing the base. You do not need to cover the whole base, make it random. We're gonna do the same thing on the traffic light pole and the base. Now repeat the same thing, but use deep gray.
Tangled in the words we never said, holding on to echoes of a life that we both know is hanging by a thread.
The last one is ash gray. The procedure is the same. Now we got a pretty nice looking design that reminds a bit of a concrete and marble.
Every time we smile, it tears at the seams of the love that we once felt but can't sustain. Can you tell me where it all went wrong?
If you want, you can add a bit of a desert yellow on the base and traffic light pole. It will look a bit like it's wear and tear, like a bird pooped on them. That's it. Now grab your precision brush and let's do the text on the base of the traffic pole. It is already in the design, so it's very easy to track it. We're gonna use bloody red. It will make a nice contrast with the color of the pole and the street. On the traffic light pole there are a few clamps. I'm gonna use dark gunmetal to paint those and then use silver to paint the nuts and bolts on those clamps.
Every touch feels like a cold goodbye. Every word we speak just fades away.
For the traffic light sign, I'm gonna use chainmail metallic paint. I think I could have made this with the airbrush, but it doesn't matter, we can do it with the brush too. Everything is pretty easy, 1 to 2 colors and moving on. Next thing I'm gonna paint are those yellow strips on the crosswalk by using sun yellow. I needed a lot of layers to cover it, I think like 4 or maybe even 5, so it would be much easier to do this with the airbrush, but since this is a crosswalk, I did not want it to have like a perfect clean look. Doing it with a brush turned out a bit like people are actually walking over it. This next part is where you need to show your patience. The shoes. There are a bunch of colors and small parts that you need to be careful not to mess up. First I'm gonna start with wild green to do some details. After that, angel green. There will probably be a lot of back and forth here. If you cross the line, then you need to fix it, so take your time. Now take black color and color around the name Nami at the top of the shoe tongue, so leave the name white. Use black color also for the Nike logo going around the shoes, for the laces and any other details that you want to pop out. You will also see the names on the shoes like Arlong, Mugiwara. They are too thin to do it with a brush and it would probably not look good, so I'm gonna use this pen for drawing that uses pigmented ink to write the names. For the raindrops at the side of the shoe, I'm just gonna color them with bright sapphire. On one of the shoes you will see pictures, like Diamond, Zeus and Lightning Bolt. The first two we will make with decals, but the Lightning Bolt we will just color it with sun yellow. The last thing left on the shoes is a little chain for the chopper head. The head we will make with the decals, but the chain we will paint with Warlord Purple. That's it for the shoes, so let's go and finish up the trousers. There are 2 big buttons on each of the pocket, so I'm gonna use gold color to color them. At the top of the trousers you will see text Cat Burglar. Use any color you want, I used red so it pops out more. You will also see some other buttons on the trousers that I did with dark gunmetal metallic. This next part is important. At this point you don't actually see the pockets unless you're looking from really close up. So take some dark tone and outline all the pockets from front and back. This will make a bit of a separation between the pockets and the rest of the trousers. The last part is to take some off-white and do the decorations at the bottom of the trousers. Now let's switch and do the Zeus. He has head that goes red, white, so we can start with bloody red and then dead white. You can help yourself with the pencil before you start to paint to know how to draw the lines. Also use red for the mouth. To make the eyes, eyebrows and other outlines around the nose and mouth, I use that ink pen again, because it's much more precise on something this small. The last part is to use yellow on the front of the head. Okay, now we're gonna do green and white stripes on the bikini. We're gonna help ourselves by using masking tape again. Just make little pieces and try to match both sides. Remember to start with the green at the top and finish with the green at the bottom. There are two reasons for this. First is that the second stripe from the top needs to be white, because by the design we need to put 3 green dots inside of it. The second reason is that the tan lines at the top and the bottom will be more pronounced if they are next to the green color instead of the white color. After you remove the masking tape, it does not matter if some green color passed through. You have clear lines now, and we're gonna use Brain Matter Beige to color the white lines in between.
Shifting sands.
Can you tell me where it all went wrong? We used to dance to every broken song. Now we're just strangers in a crowded room, holding on to ghosts and fading.
Also use this color for the skull necklace. Use black for the chain, and be careful when painting this necklace. It's pretty small and you do not want to mess up the skin tones. But just in case, have some cotton swabs and clean water prepared. Since we varnish the model, you can quickly clean it up if you accidentally mess up. We're gonna start with the sun yellow for the head and the bloody red for that red stripe on the head. Everything else, outlines, eyes, teeth, we're gonna do with a marker. For the tattoo on the arm, I'm gonna use Imperial Navy. Now take the same green that we already used and make 3 dots in the first white stripe from the top. The last thing is to use Scarlet Red for that small decoration ring on the bikini strap. We're really taking advantage of the masking tape on this model, so we're also gonna use it for the staff. Feed the masking tape around the staff in a thin straps, but leave the ends a bit longer. Then you wanna fit the cap on the staff, since it's a separate piece, and use that extra length that we left to tape on it. I'm gonna paint it with a flickering flame. If a bit of a paint passed below the masking tape, just fix it with a white or some off-white that we used before. There's not much to do on the jacket. Take Pixie Pink for the text on the back. We also want to color the sleeves and the stripe at the bottom of the jacket with the same color. I made a wash here using wash medium, but it's not really necessary. It took me a few layers like this to paint it when I could have just used the color and done it in one try. After it dries, take some dark tone and add it to the creases where we painted. On the hand we have a gold bracelet. All of this is pretty easy to paint, just watch not to get it on the skin. There's also a bandage on the arm, don't miss it, so I'm gonna use Pixie Pink on it. If you want, you can also freestyle a heart or some text on the bandage. I'm gonna finish the arm now by painting the nails with bloody red.
Fading like the sunset in the rain. Every time we smile, it tears at the seams of the love that we once.
On the other arm, we have a log pose. I'm gonna use Weapon Bronze for the bracelet, but for the logs at the top, I want them to look a bit crystal, like glass. A good color for that is Tamiya Clear Blue. It looks really cool, and when we add gloss varnish later, it's gonna look very shiny. For the first shopping bag, again Pixie Pink for the text, and World Purple for the stripe at the top and handles.
You looked at me like I'm just someone else. Guess we were never meant to be ourselves.
I remember when your eyes were like the sky. Now the shadows.
There is a bunch of gold coins in the back, so just use Greedy Gold or some other gold color on them. There are also a few crystals. For the bigger one I'm gonna use Gemstone Red, and for the smaller one in the corner Tamiya Clear Blue again. Do not miss the little heart in the coins, just use bloody red on it. For the second bag, I'm gonna start with Imperial Navy for the text and gold for the coins inside.
If I could find a way to make you
In this bag goes the map, so let's go and finish it up. For the ribbon around it, I'm gonna use Flash Tears Red Contrast Paint. We're also gonna use Strong Tone Wash and put it in all the recesses on the top and on the side. This will make it look like it's really rolled up and not just one solid piece. What else do we have? Stop to pass traffic device. I'm gonna use black here for all the decorations and bloody red for the button.
We're only down to wander through the pain, chasing shadows that will never be the same. I don't wanna slow this endless fight, but I can't let go now.
For the green headband, you can leave it as it is, but if you want to give it a bit more dimension, just use shade. I'm gonna use the Build 10 green here. It will move into recesses where shadows would naturally form. Okay, that's it for the little parts. Let's move on to the head now. This is the most important part. If the head does not look good, the whole model is ruined. So let's start with the eyes. The eyes are very big, so it will be much easier to work on them. First, we wanna make some pinkish undertone, so start with the pixie pink. Next part is not mandatory, you can skip it if you want. I'm gonna use Gryph-Charger Grey with airbrush on the low pressure and just add it a little bit above the eyes so it looks like a makeup. But be careful here, try the airbrush on paper first before you do it on the model. I also wanna give it a bit of red in the cheeks, so I'm gonna use fluorescent red, again low pressure and just a little bit. After the pink in the eyes is dry, use Brain Matter Beige on top of it. The pinkish undertone will still pass through and give it a nice color. For the eyebrows and outlines around the eyes, just use black. Be careful with the outlines around the eyes, they do not go around the whole eye, but they are sculpted in the model, so it will be easy to follow them. We're gonna start with the Cygor Brown for the eyes. Before you put the paint, take a pencil and sketch the iris of the eye. It should be quite big and looking to the side. I'm gonna show you how I did it after every step, so you can check it before doing it yourself. So, like I said, I'm first gonna sketch it with a pencil and then use Cygor Brown to fill it up. First let it dry and then get body red and paint it inside of the iris, all around, but leave the brown around the edges. Now take Cygor Brown again and make the Greek omega letter upside down at the top of the eye. Like this, and you will be left with a red color shape at the bottom that looks like a moon. Now let's add a bit of color to the iris and make them feel alive. Take orange fire and pull little thin lines inside of the red, not too much. Do the same thing with the sun yellow. The red still needs to stay the primary color, but now you can see a bit of a life inside. The last part is to add sparkle in the eye. Take pure white and make a dot in the right corner of both eyes. That's it, I think they look good. When we put gloss varnish on them, they will look alive. For the earring, I used Brain Matter Beige, but you can use whichever color you want. Now for the lips, I'm gonna use Magos Purple. So the more brush strokes you make with this color, the darker the lips will look, so keep that in mind. I want them to look a bit darker so they pop out more. I also made a wash using Wash Medium and Brain Matter Beige and used it on the bottom lip to look like a highlight. And that's it for the painting. The next thing we wanna do is to add decals. So any part of the model that you wanna add a decal on, you need to varnish. If it's on a traffic light, varnish traffic light. If it's on a shoe, varnish the whole shoe. We're gonna use gloss varnish because we need a smooth surface for the decals. Without varnishing, there would be a lot of damage on the model. These decals that I'm gonna use, I got it with a 3D model. First, what I did was to just print them out on a normal paper in order to see what I have and how big I need to make them. For example, there's a place on the shoe where we need to put Chopper's head. I'm gonna use caliper to measure how big it is, from top to bottom, and write it down on the paper. Same thing for the Zeus, measure how big it is and write it down. Do that for all the decals that you want to put. Next thing you're gonna need is a decal paper in order to print them out. I'm gonna use the one from the Green Stuff World since they are very good. So you need to watch out for two things. First, what printer do you have? Is it a laser or inkjet? As you can see here at the top it says laser, so watch out for that. The second thing you need to watch out for is if the paper is white or transparent. I have both here, but I'm gonna use white. The difference is that when you use white paper, you can use images that have white color. For example, the Zeus cloud is white, and it will look good on white decal paper, because the white comes from the paper, not the ink inside of the printer. If you have transparent decal paper, you will need to color all the white parts in Photoshop to some light gray. It does not matter as long as it's not white. You probably think then, why don't I always use white decal paper? That's because you need to be very precise when you cut out the image from the paper. If there is some white space left around the image, it will also be on the model. If there is some white space left around the image on a transparent decal paper, you will not be able to see it on the model. Now let's go to the PC. If you drag the image directly into Word, you will see that you have some white space around it. That means if you scale the image to 7mm, like we measured with caliper, it will not be 7mm, but less, because the measures take into account this white space. What you need to do is to remove this white space before you scale the image. You can find a bunch of free online apps to do that or just use Photoshop. After I remove this white space and drag the image again into Word, there's no more empty space at the top and the bottom. This means that we can right click on the image, go to size and position, and input the absolute height that we measured with caliper, and click OK. That's it, do that for every decal image that you want to be a specific size. I did 2 decals for every image in case I mess up one, so I still have a backup. Now you can print it, but before you do, change the type of a paper in printer properties. If it's white decal paper, choose glossy, and if it's transparent, choose transparent. Nice, that turned out okay. Not the best, but that's because I do not have original colors in the printer, but the replacement ones, and they always give less sharper image. Before continuing, I'm gonna cut that piece of paper where decals are. This paper is not very cheap and there is no need to throw the rest away, just use it for the next print. The part with the decals we need to varnish, so use gloss varnish. We do this to protect the image so it does not smudge or crack. Let it dry really good. If you start touching it and it's not dry yet, you will smudge the image. After that, use a precision knife, scissors, whatever you want, and just cut the decal out. So, this is what you're gonna need to apply them. Decal adhesive. We put this on the model before the decal. It's used so the decal can be moved around on the model until we find a good position. It's also used to make a better bond between the decal and the model. Next thing is decal softener. We use it on a decal to make the image more flexible so it conforms better to the model surface. 2 tweezers to move the decals around. Cotton swabs to remove extra moisture. A flat brush to transfer the decal on the model. A silicone brush to position the decal. And warm water. There are many techniques how to apply decals, but I'm gonna show you how I like to do it. First, apply decal adhesive where you're gonna put the decal. With 1 tweezer, take the decal and put it in warm water. When you see the image separating from the paper, grab it with the second tweezer. Transfer it to the flat brush inside of the water and bring it to the model. Use silicone brush to move the decal from the flat brush to the model, and then move it around until you find the perfect spot. When you're happy, press the decal down and use the flat brush all around it. The goal is to squeeze that adhesive underneath as much as possible. As you are squeezing it, use cotton buds to wipe the fluid. Last step is to put softener on the decal in order to conform it to the object and fill every gap. You can repeat this last step a few times until you are satisfied. That's it, it takes a bit of practice, but you will get a hang of it very quickly. After you're done with the decals, let them dry really good. The last step is to protect the model. We're gonna varnish it using a mixture of matte and satin varnish 3:1. Varnish all the parts. 2 thin layers are better than 1 fat layer, and let it dry between the layers. Pay attention when we're varnishing the parts with decals. We need to cover them well in order to protect them and remove the glossy look that we made with gloss varnish. When the varnish dries, take a bit of a gloss varnish and apply it with a brush to the eyes, earrings, maybe the bracelet around the head, parts that you want to look shiny and glossy. Oof, finally done. We made it through. Now let's see the final result. Roll it.
Take everything we got, give it an honest shot, turning it on and off, we've been sliding, riding the highest dream, keeping the fire real, I call for you. Hold your gun, cut the wire, aim for fun, with a light your fire. I've been flying up the ceiling, taken by this feeling, maybe we're invisible at last. Fueling every engine, power is descending, maybe we're invisible. Over the coming days, let's cut to the chase. We're gonna beat this maze, let's go deeper. I wanna reach it all, taking a leap or fall.
Alright, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed how it turned out. If it was helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, drop me a comment and maybe share it with a friend. Don't forget to check the community post, I've got a full list of all the colors there. And if you're into One Piece, go watch my other video where I painted Fire Fist Ace. You'll love it. Now, before I go, I've gotta ask one very important question. Luffy and Nami or Luffy and Hancock? Which side are you on? Let me know down in the comments. See you soon in the next video. Bye!